Hey, everybody, and welcome to this developer-focused AMA with Witnet. We have Parity Bit, aka Marcus from Witnet. He and I have met in person a couple of times, which is great, and it's great to have you on the on this latest developer AMA. Welcome, Marcus.
Nice. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you taking the time to have me on. Really excited what Reef is building and happy to help support the Reef community here.
Terrific. Yeah. So for those maybe who don't know, hello, Moro from Malta. For those who don't know, Witnet actually launched support for Reef Chain recently. We'll talk a little bit about what that means in a few minutes here. And but as we promised, we want to bring you the latest and greatest information on how to build on Reef Chain and use the different tools that are available to you. And this is just the latest in that series. So Perry DeBet, aka Marcus, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Witnet, and how you transition? I'm guessing at some point from some sort of traditional software development career over to cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3, whatever your preferred terminology is.
Yeah. So just kind of to start, I did go to school for computer science. I think I've been in the Bitcoin or crypto space since 2017. Really started getting into it in 2019. One of the first projects I ran across was Witnet, where I kind of joined as that pseudo anonymous community member. And then just throughout the years, it looks like they developed something that I really appreciated. I enjoyed the ethos after reading the initial white paper and stuff. So I ended up joining the team, leading adoption, then also as a developer advocate.
Awesome. And again, for those who don't know, I've been in contact with Adon, who's one of the co-founders of Witnet since 2018, and I actually had him on a podcast I used to do called Bloom Fireside. So I've been familiar with Witnet for almost 5 years now, and
Nice, yeah.
so it's great to actually be working with you guys on a more regular and deeper basis for me personally. So that's been really
Yeah,
nice.
it's nice because Witnet runs its own layer one blockchain. I think I joined the project as a community member, like I said,
Mhm.
initially when it was still in testnet. So I've kind of been there throughout the development cycle to one where we went mainnet and then started adoption and the multi-chain approach to where now we're on 24 different chains, including Reef is one of the newest ones.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, I mean, you've kind of laid out the foundations for Witnet for people who are building things with Witnet, or think they might need Witnet. What really is Witnet? What do people use it for? Let's get a little bit deeper here.
Sure, it's Witnet's a multi-chain oracle, and now might be a good time to pull up some slides here so I could talk about
I was
maybe,
thinking that.
yeah,
There
the
we go.
protocol. So the Witnet protocol is like a custom solution built in Rust that we have, and it just kind of goes into the Oracle issue, which we don't think is really a solvable issue because, like you can see, smart contracts need uh, deterministic data, but when you go out to a URL, that's not exactly truth. And like, how do we derive truth? It's kind of different than consensus. So we need to design into our systems ways that we can verify data without having that level of trust, but still have consensus, I guess.
Hmm.
And so the way Witnet does that is we run our own blockchain. It's kind of based on the crypto economic incentives. So node operators are also resolving data requests. And the person requesting a piece of information can set the economic incentive for that specific request. So it's like pretty customizable. Like even the number of witnesses, you can say, I want 10 or 100 witnesses to go out to these 4 different URLs to fetch a piece of information and then do some aggregation and make a commitment and kind of go through that process of having rewards and fees and stuff, which I think is interesting. So it kind of goes through the commitment, the reveal, the aggregation, and the consensus.
So, uh, I mean, a few years ago, I remember seeing a lot of attacks, especially on dexes and things like that, where the Oracle was kind of part of the problem, right? The Oracle itself was sending invalid data. It sounds like this is based on my, very limited knowledge on how oracles work, which is, pretty much looking at slide decks like this and hearing from people like you. It sounds like this is a better way to do it, where you can actually specify, just how good the data needs to be, basically, or like how many people need to validate, or how many computers need to validate it, therefore hopefully bypassing or avoiding that issue where, like, one oracle says USDT is 50 cents, one says USDT is $1, and maybe because of the way that data is being collected and amalgamated, you come to a consensus of 75 cents or something crazy like that. If you actually have 15, 40, 50 different ones, going out there and getting that data from a variety of sources, how you
Yeah, and
interpret that data, I think, still matters, but I think that sounds like a better way than saying, like, this one oracle says it's 50 cents, and that's what we're going to go with.
yeah, and I think that's a benefit also of kind of the aggregation that Witnet does. You can define multiple sources, and if one of them is out of consensus with the others, that you can actually filter out that one source. Like if a source is a DEX or an exchange and there's a flash crash of a price, then we can filter that out and then go on the other sources, which I think is interesting, um, as far as that ability to aggregate multiple sources, like you were saying. Um, and then what's nice also about it is it's completely permissionless and decentralized. It's all open source on GitHub. So we have kind of a low barrier to entry to participate. So we do have like a scheme to where in order to participate in a request, you need to stake some WIT, some collateral you need to have to participate in a request. And then when you resolve the request, you get some reputation, but you can also mine a block without any reputation. And reputation decays over time, right? And because of this reputation system, there's low hardware requirements. So it can even be ran like on a Raspberry Pi, for example, um, which I think is interesting. And just going into that reputation system a little bit more, we can see that the power of each node is proportional to their past honesty. So if they are in consensus with the other 9 nodes out of a 10 node request or something like that, then they're of course rewarded if they do well, or slashed if they report false information or an outlier. So they would lose collateral and then also lose the reputation that they have.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and going just into the parameters a little bit more, like I said, you can set the number of witnesses and then also quality requirements. So you can say out of the 10 nodes, I want 51% of them to be in consensus or 70%. So you can really fine tune those types of requests for what makes the most sense and kind of what the security needs are for the different feeds. And this is just kind of the life cycle that I was talking about. So there's the initial data request, which is defined in like a scripting language that we have Radon to go out to a certain URL and fetch a piece of information. That's all defined. Then they do like the shelling point game. So it's like a commitment hash. So they go out and they fetch the data, they make a commitment. After they all reveal, in this example, we're like getting the temperature, right? The weather data or something like that.
Yeah.
And then after everyone reveals, we can see who is in consensus. If they're out of consensus, they're slashed. If they're in consensus, then we can do a tally and determine that price there.
Okay.
And that just kind of goes into that life cycle of a request a little bit more. You can define multiple URLs, and Alice and Bob will each go out, do some aggregation, and do that commit and reveal, and then the final tally, right? So like how this works. Sorry, go ahead.
No. You finish, and I'll. I'm not trying to interrupt. Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, so this all happens on the Witnet side. So we do run our own blockchain, but we have like a messaging bridge where this information would be relayed to like the Reef chain, for example, to where you could have a
Right.
smart contract that defines the request, and then it would be relayed over to Witnet, where it could be resolved securely and then forwarded back over.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to set something up on the side here. I'm not trying to avoid eye
Yeah, no worries.
contact or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm just about done. I got a few more things here, and then we can get into some questions here.
Yeah. There we go.
So since Witnet runs its own blockchain, we're not like bound to the fate of any one chain, and hopefully can capture the value from multiples. So you can see like here we're live on 24 different chains. We have 224 data feeds. Now this is just what's supported by the Witnet Foundation. One of the nice things about Witnet is these data requests are completely permissionless. So these feeds here on this site are just what's managed by the Witnet Foundation. There's other requests not listed here that other projects use that I think is worth mentioning. That this is not an inclusive of everything that's on the Witnet network, I guess.
Right.
And just getting into that a little bit more, since it's permissionless and anyone can create requests, we have a price feed creator that you can use through the desktop wallet, which is like a full node wallet. It's called Shika, to where you can define data sources and then the content type and like what piece of data you're actually looking for. We also have a couple of different libraries that you can build it in JavaScript and then have it compiled, have the bytecode compiled, and then we also have like a truffle box that you can use to then generate a smart contract with that.
Nice.
And on top of just data feeds, we also have a specific type of data feed that doesn't go out to a URL, but it has the nodes perform a VRF to generate a random number, which is useful in like NFTs for gaming, but also so you could use the RNG to determine a trait for an NFT. And Witty Bufficorns and Witty Creatures, these are a couple of social games that we've ran at the past. Witty Bufficorns was last year at ETH Denver, and Witty Creatures was at ETHCC in Paris last year. So that's pretty interesting. And even with Witty Bufficorns, we had the weather of Denver and the different ranches and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Using a data request to determine some things within the minting process as well, which I think is interesting.
Reef, I think, was actually one of the ranches. Like you used the major
Yeah,
sponsors as one of the ranches. I've got the sticker on the back of my laptop.
nice. Yeah, that was a fun one. And kind of the next steps, like I said, we're kind of in this adoption phase since we have the protocol and it works fairly well. We have a grant program. We've already given out over $30,000. So it could be like an ecosystem grant. From the data feeds explored, that if we go back here, we can see that a lot of the feeds on these different networks are subsidized through ecosystem grants.
Okay.
So if we have developers on Reef that need a certain price feed, we could potentially to help them create their own or help support it through an ecosystem grant or something.
Okay, that's cool.
And then also, so fostering adoption, and then maybe kind of the next steps aside from maybe a new game similar to Witty Bufficorns or Witty Creatures. We have a more optimistic bridge, so like a decentralized bridge. So that relay that I'm talking about between the Witnet network and other chains like Reef, that is like a set of smart contracts and stuff, but we need to further decentralize it, and we're thinking about maybe an optimistic bridge and some different ways to do that, or to make it easier for people to run their own bridge. So that's kind of what we have planned for the next quarter or two.
Can you maybe take a minute, like again, bridging? Like obviously, I know what bridges are. I've used a bunch because I always like to see which one has the lowest fees. Like maybe what's the difference between a more traditional bridge like perhaps multi-chain, formerly called AnySwap, and an optimistic bridge. And if AnySwap is a bad example, feel free to fill in a different one.
Yeah, so this is so it's just a messaging bridge. There's no like tokens that are being passed back and forth.
Okay.
Like when we're talking like the optimistic, so that we could have multiple reporters to say here is what Witnet reported, and there could be a dispute period to say this is the actual report that we want to validate on chain, while there could be multiple reporters, and then figuring out how long to leave open that dispute period and some other things is kind of some more of the technical things on the optimistic bridge, which I think there's even within our Discord and even on GitHub that you can follow those discussions.
Okay, that's terrific. Is that the end of the deck?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. There you go. Actually, I think you should go back one so you have some contact information there available for people. I don't know how involved you were specifically in the actual integration, but somebody here, Layer 100 Crypto, wants to know how that interaction with Reef Chain went. Like getting the contracts on chain, doing whatever you needed to do at Witnet in order to support oracles on Reef Chain.
Yeah, I think it was as far as the development, I think it went fairly smooth. We've kind of been on testnet for a bit of time and finally moved the contracts over to mainnet, which I think was a good decision. And it's nice to see also the Reef ecosystem kind of being more developed and seeing more traction and stuff within Reef. I think is a great thing.
Yeah, this was definitely a hole that Witnet was able to fill for us in terms of having oracles on chain. And very soon, as per the chat here, the random number generator being released on mainnet, because Pierre was just asking, and somebody at the Witnet Oracle Network using the official YouTube account responded, because Pierre wanted to know if there was if there was a Telegram channel or group for support. Is there specifically like a place that any developer should go in order to interact with the team? Is it the Discord, or what do you guys prefer?
Yeah, there's more developers, like more technical questions on the Discord, but they're more than welcome to join the Discord or the Telegram.
Okay. All right. So it's discord.gg/witnet or t.me/witnetio for Discord and Telegram, respectively. And according to Witnet Oracle Network official YouTube account, I'm guessing the random number generator is coming to like that contract, I guess, is or Oracle. Again, showing my ignorance here about how this works in the background. The verifiable randomness factor that's coming within a month or so.
I would imagine it could be a little bit sooner, but I could verify. I could verify that.
That's fine. We should always hedge our bets, right? So
Right.
within a month, we'll stick with that. And looks like the Dev Lounge channel, you'll see a message pinned for tutorial specifically for Reef. Speaking of which, could we take, since at least here on YouTube, and I've been checking elsewhere as well, I think we're out of questions at the moment. Can we take just a couple minutes to go through the blog post that just went up late last week?
Sure. Yeah, which one is that?
I will. So there's two. There's one about how to deploy randomness on Reef and how to deploy price feed. They look, I mean, they're fairly brief because I think, thankfully, it's fairly easy to work with both the protocols. There we go.
Yeah, and if you want, I could.
I will zoom in here for everybody's sake. Because this is a fairly large screen and that was really small. So obviously we can skip the preamble, but yeah, so this is how to deploy a price feed. Right now, sorry, I'm looking up. I'm actually looking at actually I can look at my screen and read that.
Yeah, and then also
so we got 2 price feeds available right now. Sorry, go ahead.
Pull up the website. It's feeds.witnet.io. And then you can click on Reef there. And then click on one of the mainnet feed. And then if you scroll down, it could show you the actual links that Medium article links to. So you could see the actual deployment contracts on Reef, and then we're down below. The update history is the transactions on the Witnet side. So if you just kind of click on that top one, maybe I could walk you through the data request. So on kind of the upper right-hand side, we can see the economics of the request here, right? So we could see how many witnesses. So 10 nodes went out and fetched, it looks like several different URLs to derive the Reef USD price. If you look down below, we can see each URL and the script that was used to fetch that specific piece of data. You can also see the standard deviation and the filtering mechanisms for aggregation that are used down below. And back to the rewards. So they get a little bit of reward. They also have some collateral. So they get a 1 milliwit reward. And each of those 10 nodes had to put up 5 wit to participate in the request. Okay. And then we required at least 51% of them to be in agreement. If it was less than that, then the transaction would revert because we can't get consensus. And then if they complete the request, they get their collateral back, plus that little bit of reward, and plus they gain some reputation, which makes their chances of mining a block a little bit better, since the block mining process is somewhat random.
Okay, cool. So for people who are really trying to dig in here, it looks like you've got quite a bit of data. This comes from KuCoin, HitBTC, Gate.io's API, Digifinex, PKX, BitTrue, Binance. Like looks like it's a fairly well vetted price.
Yeah, and if you look at that script, you can literally just copy and paste that into JavaScript and compile bytecode to run your own price feeds. Or you could always ask in the Discord for help creating feeds.
Cool. Looks like here's all the commits that came in from the various miners. Is that right?
Yeah, so each node, after they go out to those different URLs and fetch the data and do some aggregation, then they do a commitment hash, which comes in at different times for each node. After they each commit, then they all reveal their answer. So we can click on the reveal and see what they revealed. One of them had an HTTP error, a couple of them did, some of them confirmed an actual value. And then we could see at the end what the actual tally was to determine the price.
Cool, good stuff. All right, that's neat. So yeah, so those links are all here in how to deploy a price feed on Reef. I will edit the description for this live stream after it goes out. Actually, you know what? I can drop the links right here, right now, for people to visit them. And there's also the one on how to deploy randomness on Reef. Is there anything we can cover here real quick?
Sure. So the Reef transaction, I think, let me verify if we actually have the randomness deployed or not. Just let me verify that real quick.
Sure. So while you're doing that, so basically this blog post kind of walks you through a link to the actual Witnet randomness contract itself. It's also called the Witnet randomness oracle. It also links you to some solidity examples. I'll just do this now. I'll drop the link to this blog post in the chat.
I have a link for you. It looks like we're already deployed there. I can share a link with you here. So that has all of the multi-chain addresses for our randomness oracle. And then specifically for Reef mainnet, we're also on testnet. I have the actual contract address for you here.
There's that again in the YouTube chat. Actually, it's also going out to Facebook and to Twitch. But I will also show it up here on the screen. There you go. And if we scroll down here, again, I will zoom in. There we go.
Yeah, so like with the randomness contract, basically it's kind of a two-step process. Okay, so you first need to request randomness, then that request is passed over to the Witnet side. It's randomized and then passed back. So it's an asynchronous process to where you request Witnet to be randomized, and then at a later time you can recall that as seed in whatever you're doing.
Got it. Cool. Yeah. So that's the source code hasn't been verified yet, which is probably why the person running the YouTube account said we'll
Oh yeah.
release it within the month. But the tutorial is up and is available. So kind of what you're just talking about, using the Witnet randomness to care for requesting and paying for new randomness at any given time, fetching a randomness value generated by Witnet after any given block number. That's interesting. What sort of thing have you seen? If you have any examples off the top of your head, what sort of situation might somebody want to use number two there, getting the randomness value after any given block number? Would that maybe be for like an airdrop or something like that?
That's just kind of just in general. So like if you have a set of calls that you want to make and you need to determine the number is fresh enough or if it has been randomized, so you can verify, okay, the request came back, but also I want the number to be fresh enough and use it within a certain amount of time. So if it's past
Okay,
a certain block, you can say regenerate a new number, or use the one that's there.
cool. All right, that makes sense. So we've shared pretty much all those links here in the chat. Again, I will update the. Oh, Pierre just said maybe for a lottery. That makes sense.
Yeah, for example, Pool Together community is using Witnet on Ethereum mainnet to generate a community pool. I think that's Steth.win, I think is the website. And it's
Yep.
just a Pool Together no loss lottery. But I've also seen it used in kind of like loot boxes, just a similar lottery type thing, but also to generate trades for NFTs has been a big interesting use case.
Okay. Cool. I just realized we've actually like kind of gone a little overtime here, so I definitely
Oh
want
yeah.
to let you get back to your day. Just like I mean, for planning purposes, like I typically plan these to be around half an hour, and we've gone a little over, but I think that's okay. Um, what was I going to say? So somebody did ask about, and I think we can answer this from a fairly technical perspective. Where did it go? What's the fundamental difference between Witnet and another Oracle solution like Chainlink?
Yeah, I would say again, it kind of falls into different couple of different areas since Witnet runs its own blockchain. Like I mentioned, we're more chain agnostic while also having that multi-chain approach. We're not tied to the fate of any one chain while still
Mhm.
potentially capturing the value. We can also move a lot quicker in that regard since we don't need to wrap our token and then deploy it to a specific ecosystem. I know
Okay.
sometimes moving to a new chain could be a little bit cumbersome if they need to wrap the token that they have to use it within your ecosystem. Another thing would be that from the developer aspect, you're paying in the native token for the chain. So for example, Reef on Reef or like Matic on Polygon, for example. So from the user experience from using Witnet and using the token or coin that's native to that chain, I think is nice. And then of
Yep.
course on the Witnet side, those node operators resolving the request are compensated in the equal amount of WIT.
Okay. Cool. That's great. I'm just gonna have a check real quick to see if there's any maybe questions maybe I missed. Um, Date saved. Unrelated. That's in Vietnamese. But it didn't look long enough to be a developer related question, so I think that's fine. And we've definitely answered all the ones here in that arrived via YouTube. And I didn't see anything, any of the ones that we haven't already touched on in Discord. So I think we're good here. Um, Marcus, is there anything you want to say just before we wrap up here with the community to make sure that they know about Witnet or developing with Witnet on Reef specifically or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I shared the Data Feeds Explorer website, and then
Yeah.
also the docs website. And kind of the best resource aside from the documentation would be to reach out to us in the Discord or the Telegram, or follow us on Twitter. And then
Okay.
I would also say that our Witcoin, you can buy it on Gate.io or MXC.
Okay, great. Yes, I did mean to. I did intend to ask about that, how to get it. Therefore, be able to withdraw it, run a node. I think I have a Raspberry Pi 3 Plus around here somewhere that I'm not using. I know they're not easy to get right now, or at least they haven't been easy to get, throughout 2022 because of supply chain problems. But
Yeah,
I mean, if it's that simple that you can run, or that small, lightweight. That's the word I'm looking for. If it's that lightweight that you can run it on a Raspberry Pi, or I'm guessing a fairly recent one, but regardless, like that's terrific. Or maybe this little Intel NUC I've got running behind here that isn't doing a whole lot right now.
I could probably do the job for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
good
are you
stuff.
gonna make it out to East Denver this year?
I am. I will be at ETH Denver. I will be around. Actually, I'm going to be there for an entire week, Sunday to
Nice.
Sunday. So
Yeah, it's a
yeah, I
big
will
event.
have
It's gonna
lots
be
of
a lot of
time.
fun.
Yeah, I'll have lots of time for side events. Not the after party if that's Sunday night again, but for lots of other things throughout the week. And yeah, I'll be hanging out and hopefully running into people I know and making some new friends as well. So assuming
Right.
Witnet's going to be there, yeah, we could post a selfie together and show people that
Yeah,
that we're hanging
definitely.
out. Sorry, there's one last question.
Yeah, sure.
Witnet will be a validator at the same time. Oh, is Witnet going to be a Reef validator? We haven't really talked about that. They've got their own layer one to focus on and to run. I don't think that's been a topic of discussion at this point, but as more people build on Reef throughout 2023 and deploy more dApps and more tokens, then opening up the validator slots is something that we can look at to make sure that the network remains secure with over 51% staked. Obviously, that's primary goal there. So yeah, I think that answers El Bandolero's question. So yeah, I
Nice.
think we will end it there. Marcus, Parity Bit, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Really
thanks,
looking
Derek.
forward to coming to Denver in a few weeks, and I'll see you there.
Awesome. Yeah. I actually live in Denver, so it's like everyone's coming to my hometown. It's gonna be great.
Everybody's coming to visit Marcus. This is going
Yeah,
to be great.
it's gonna be fun.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate your questions and your enthusiasm. And until next time, keep biddling the reef.
Thanks, everyone.